Hey, what's up, YouTube? Spewing here. Got a little bored, so I thought I'd make another little video. And don't mind the context. I don't know, just got kind of bored. Felt like wearing them for some reason. So I don't know. Also, I will be talking about the Dark Eldar this time. So I don't know. They kind of went with the theme, I guess. In any case, I know I did a lot of tile videos lately. And tile are coming along pretty well. I got my army started. A lot of stuff. Most of it's should be done in like a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Everything's gonna be built and painted, ready for gaming. I'm creaming, like fucking just like creaming my pants, waiting for the Eldar Codex, as I'm sure a lot of people are. And it's gonna be good. June is gonna be a good month for a lot of people, I think. You know, what's been like 7 years now? 6 or 7 years now that we've been waiting for the Eldar Codex. It's a lot of people's favorite army. It's personally my favorite. I mean, I love the Tau, but Eldar are kind of fluff-wise. They're my favorite, man. I just love them. So that's gonna be good. Before then, though, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the Dark Eldar. Just because I just think, well, I mean, I think it's like one of the like least used armies today, which is kind of sad, to be honest. Like, a lot of people say that they're like completely obsolete already. 6th edition just killed them. It's pointless to play them. You know, people laugh at my shop when like somebody brings in a Dark Eldar army. I think that's bullshit because, well, for one thing, they're probably some of the best models that GW has out there, and secondly, you know, the people who know what they're doing will always know that somebody who's actually can play the army is usually the best player around. There's just not enough of those people. I thought I'd just go into some of my thoughts on the Codex. Obviously, I'm not going to go over everything because it's kind of redundant. But you know, it's kind of, you know, people definitely underestimate them because they're so used to, you know, like Terminator armies and shit like that. You know, that are very forgiving. You know, Space Marines, things like that. That you know, you can make so many mistakes and somehow still end up winning. Dark Eldar are kind of an all-or-nothing sort of army. You kind of have to be decisive. You basically either steamroll them or you like get slaughtered. And now it's even more so. I will admit, 6th edition actually did hurt them a lot. What with the whole variable charge distance, Overwatch, things like that. Their whole assault aspect, you know, the whole like rushing witches in and like charging them, is just got so badly nerfed. Like, it's not really, if you play them nowadays, you can't play them like assault based, which is fine, because they actually have some really good shooting, like fucking intense. I'd say they're one of the shootiest armies in the game, personally. You know, next to Tau and obviously Imperial Guard, I'd say they're one of the shootiest armies in the game. And there's lots of ways to get around the new you know, the setbacks and the new rules. Of course, their like paper armor vehicles will always really hurt them. But that's okay. You know, you can avoid that because now with Aegis lines, you can put one down, put them behind there, they get a cover save, that sort of thing. And you know, you would think, oh, Dark Eldar, you gotta like rush them in, man. You gotta smash them face, but not really, because if you rush them in, they will die a very painful death. Because the best armor save they have is like a 5-up, unless it's Incubi, which, okay, yeah, they have a better chance of surviving. But everyone else is like a 5-up armor save. Their vehicles are like armor 10, 11. They can basically get killed by, you know, bolters. But they do have some tricks up their sleeve. You know, their versatility, obviously, this is stuff you can read other places, but their versatility obviously makes them really easy to put in cover. You know, stuff like that. Like I said, they have really badass weapons. So one of my ideas for an army list, mainly because I think it would work, but also because I just so love the fucking Reaver jet bike models. I think they are some of the coolest, sexiest, most stylish fucking models in the game. And they're actually really good. Plus, I just love the fluff behind them. Like, a bunch of fucking crazy, like combat druggies get, like, fucked up on like whatever and just like all kinds of drugs and just get on their bikes, zoom around and foam at the mouth and slice people with their blade veins and corkscrews, and yeah, fucking awesome. I love the fluff behind the Reavers. But they are also arguably, in my opinion, probably the best unit in that book, especially now with the new rules. Basically, for 66 points, you get a 3-man unit of Reavers. Those are jet bikes, which can literally go from one end of the board to the other. 36-inch movement. That's like insane. They're skilled rider, so that means you get a 3-up cover save when moving, I think, 18 inches or beyond. So yeah, you just zoom across the field, and then of course they've got the whole blade veins thing. So like any unit that you move over, you get D3 strength, automatic strength 4 attacks per guy on that unit. It's only one unit that you have to choose, but D3 per guy. Basically, you don't have to assault or shoot them. You just fly over them, choose the unit, and say, okay, those guys take that many hits. And if you give them you give one of the cluster guys the cluster caltrops upgrade, which you should. It's pretty pricey at 20 points, but it's damn worth it, because instead of D3 strength 4, it becomes D6 strength 6 hits for that guy. So you're causing like what? That's okay. On average, that's 4 from the strength 4 guys. So 4. So from those, on average, you're going to be wounding on 4. So 2 of those will wound, and then from the strength 6 guy, D6 on average, you're going to get 3 to 4 of those. 3 or 4 are going to wound, and you're wounding on 2s. So that's 2 or 3. That's 2 or 3 wounds. So that's like. What? That's like 6 or 7 wounds from that unit, you know, on one unengaged squad, and you don't have to shoot or assault in close combat to do it, and you're getting your 3-up save. I think they're really good, man. Basically, the list I would run is like as many of those as you can. Go like double 4-sword, take 2 HQs. Obviously, Vect, Asdrubial Vect, because okay, yeah, he costs like a Land Raider, but he lets you steal the initiative on a 4-up, which in and of itself, he's paid for himself in the metagame if you make that. Also, he's a close combat monster who gets like preferred enemy everything and always wounds on 2s. He's ridiculous. But at the 4-up, so you take him, take like another HQ, what, Baron, Sathanix, he's pretty good, or Duke or something, and take like 6 units of 3 Reaver jet bikes. Now, the reason that you would take so many is because, first of all, it's not that expensive. For 18 of those guys, you're paying like 400 points. Okay, that's minus the caltrops. With the caltrops, it's going to be a bit more expensive. But for like 500 points, you're paying for like 18 of those guys, each of whom gets a 3-up cover save when they fly around. That's a cover save, not an armor save. So most things, you know, flamers will kill you because their armor save is only a 5-up. But 6 units, you know, they're basically flying around over the guy, crisscrossing, you know, doing like all sorts of wounds, you know, and he has to, it's a lot of units for him to engage. So like, you know, he'll say, oh, you know, I'm Dark Angels, I got my Banner of Absolution, Salvo 2-4 bolters, whatever. Okay, good job. But how many of those, you know, how many of those squads do you have, you know? So he has to engage several different units, and even then, you know, they got a 3-up save. That's pretty good. They should be able to survive. So, I don't know, that's one part of the list, of course. I just find Reaver jet bikes incredibly awesome, and the fluff behind them is awesome, and the way that you use them is awesome. It just epitomizes to me what Dark Eldar should be. Fast, you know, like screaming malevolence, chopping stuff up, you know, and using speed to, you know, make up for the loss of armor. Like, Reavers just do it all for me as Dark Eldar units. I think they're the coolest Dark Eldar unit. So that's that. That's your fast attack. Then for your troops, you've got like 10 to 20 Hellions, led by Sathanix. The thing about them is they're okay, I think, as like assault units. But it's their splinter paws that are really good. It's their like assault 2 poisoned weapon, which I mean, Dark Eldar obviously have it made in that sense, because everything is poison. So even monstrous creatures, you know, you don't care, your poison shots, you'll like wound them several times. But they, like, those 10 to 20 guys get like a crap ton of shots, and if you put Sathanix in there, they all get stealth, and he has a shadow field. So if you're lucky, there'll be some kind of like big piece of terrain in the middle, like hopefully ruins or something. You just stick them right in there and get like a 3-up save on all of them, you know, in the next round. And hopefully by then you'll be about halfway across the board. And then in the next turn, you can jump out and assault them. Because most people make a very huge mistake of just like running a bunch of Hellions straight forward across the field, no cover or anything, and I mean they get annihilated because they're tough. You know, they're toughness 4, which is good, but 5-up armor save isn't really going to last them long. The only really redeeming quality that they can have in terms of survivability is if you're lucky, you can get and you take Duke Sliskus, do the poison, the combat drugs. I love that, combat drugs. Combat drugs, if you get lucky and roll like a 6, I think, you get, the units start with a pain token, so all those guys have feel no pain, which is awesome. Another way to do that, though, would be to start that unit with a homunculus, and leave his pain token with them, and then detach him from the squad, and let them move and do whatever. So that's another way, that's easier, in my opinion, way to do it. Of course, it would be nice to get combat drugs, to get a roll of 6 on the combat drugs for all those Reaver jet bikes, because then they'll have 3-up and feel no pain, which is fucking amazing, because they also have toughness 4. So you're essentially shooting at Blood Angel assault marines, but better because it's a 3-up cover save. So yeah, so that's your troops. As the Hellions, and then of course you need 3 more if you're going double 4-sword. So the cheapest, because in my list I tried to maximize like the amount of like heavy firepower in there. So the cheapest troops choices to fill up the rest of the list would be 3 Venoms, each with like a 5-man thingy, like a 5-man Kabbalite warrior unit in there, and give them like some splinter cannons if you can. And night shields if you can find the points, and just stick them like in the very back somewhere, because the splinter cannons have a 36-inch range, and you're getting a crap ton of shots. Like, yeah, on a Kabbalite warrior Venom that's fully upgraded, you can have basically 3 splinter cannons, 2 on the Venom and then 1 on the unit, and that's like 18 poison shots at 36-inch range. Put night shields on them so that they're essentially, he's not within 36 inches if he has like a 36-inch weapon. So basically, he has to move forward and engage you, or, you know, like 48-inch range weapon. But if you're behind cover, then you've got like a 4-up cover save on that little measly little vehicle. You've got like 3 of them. So that's awesome. Venoms with Kabbalite Trueborn, with Kabbalite Warriors are now, in my opinion, the best troops choice, because Raiders got hit, I think, because they were mainly an assault-based transport for delivering like large units of witches and stuff. But you can't do that now because witches they're good as tank hunters because of the Haywire grenades, but I don't really think people are going to be using them very often. Because they're just so weak, man. But yeah, Kabbalite Warriors and Venoms. That's all your troops choices. And then for your elites, you can take basically Asdrubal, who is already I mentioned, put him in his Days of Destruction because it's awesome. It's expensive, but it's fucking amazing because it's their armor 13 Ravager, which can also transport guys. So for 200 points, it's a little pricey, but you have to capitalize on it. If you take him, you have to put him in his Dace, and you have to take him with a retinue of Incubi. Put 8 Incubi with him with like all the upgrades, because their upgrades are amazing. And then also stick a Homunculus with them, so that they start with a paint token. That's like a 666 point unit, but it's awesome. That should be like your sort of like, well, basically the idea is, while your Hellions and like 18 fucking Reaver jet bikes are like creating a huge distraction, hopefully he's gonna shoot at them, and so that your what's it called, Days of Destruction can just kind of fly in there and just start assaulting people and attack something that's easy to kill first, like once you've got your 1 paint token, like assault, I don't know, a unit of guardsmen or a unit of like regular like tactical marines, and just rip them to pieces so that you can get another paint token and have feel no pain and furious charge. Then you will be unstoppable, assuming of course he's not shooting at you. But if he's not shooting at you, he's shooting at your Reaver jet bikes. So in any case, it's basically target saturation, and it's usually what Tyranids do to me, and I hate it. I hate it. And with these guys, it's even worse because they can literally go across the board in like 1 turn. So you have to basically put the speed of the Dark Eldar to good use, and they are the fastest. They are like, they make Eldar look slow, you know, but they're not as tough, unfortunately. So that's that. So that's your what was I? So that's your troops, and your elites, of course. And then as your heavy support, this is where I got into a bit of a problem, because basically it's kind of there's two really good options in my opinion for the current edition, and that section excuse me, the Ravager, which is awesome. For 105 points you get 3 Dark Lances, and you should take Dark Lances. Disintegrators are nice, but all that, like, you have so much anti-infantry, and like everything else in your army except for the Dace, which you should keep the Dark Lances on that. Everything else in your army is like anti-infantry. So heavy support is where you want to max out your anti-tank. Even though there aren't as many nowadays in 6th edition, you should still take, you know, take some just to. And I mean, if there's no vehicles, you can always use them on like Terminators or something. But there will be vehicles. So Ravager's great for 105 points. You know, you get like 3 Dark Lances, and if you've got an Aegis line, you can basically just sit it behind there and give it like a 4-up cover save, which is awesome. Just awesome. And I think if you take a Bastion, I'm pretty sure, I remember reading in the rulebook, that the top of the Bastion actually gives you a 3-up cover save. So that's awesome. Dude, a 3-up cover save on your, like, Ravager. That's, like, amazing. You know, I think that's awesome. It comes to basically balancing that unit, the Ravager, and the Void Raven Bomber, which is ironic because that it's called a bomber, because really its main role should be anti-tank and anti-flyer, because it has the best anti-tank weapon in the Dark Eldar book, which is the Void Lance, which is a Dark Lance with +1 strength. So it's basically a lance last cannon. It's only 36 inch range, but that's still awesome. It's got 2 Void Lances. It's got the Void Mine, which is basically a large blast, strength 9, AP2. I'm forgetting if it's a lance. I don't think it's a lance. Let me see. It is a lance. So the Void Mine is a lance. So that's awesome. And it gets that free of charge. So for 145 points, you get that. It's also armor 11, front and sides. And you can give it a flicker field, which is amazing. Flicker fields aren't really as important on the other, the ground-based Dark Eldar vehicles, because you can get a Jinx save now, which is the same, which is equivalent to the flicker field save. But you need to take a Void Raven on the flicker field on the Void Raven, because that way you can get a save without having to dive, which is amazing. That's fucking awesome. They're kind of like, to me, the Void Raven's kind of like the ideal dogfighter in 6th edition. I mean, the Daka Jet's okay, but I hate Orcs, so I think it's stupid. But the Void Raven is, not only is it an amazing model, but it's incredibly good. It's a bit pricey at 145 points, and it becomes ridiculously expensive if you start giving it missiles, which you shouldn't. Just, the Void Lances are amazing. Just give it a flicker field, and, you know, like, if you've got the points, take a comms relay on your, you know, on your defense Aegis, so that you can basically make sure that the Void Raven comes in, because you cannot afford to lose turns on that thing. It is, like, way too good. And so basically, the heavy support basically comes down to how many Void Ravens versus, you know, versus Ravagers you want to take. Now, more Void Ravens means that you will be able to, if you've got 2 Void Ravens, you should be able to control the skies. And, like, sweep any vehicle that's on the ground, provided, of course, that it doesn't have, like, a quad gun or something. You should aim to destroy that if he has one. So it's basically a question of that, or a question of more Ravagers, which will give you a better alpha strike. So assuming you get the first turn, which half the time you will if you've got Vect, or so the more Ravagers you have, the stronger your alpha strike will be. And you really need that good first turn of shooting. Like, as Dark Eldar, you pretty much have to go first. If you don't go first, you're screwed. Essentially, you're screwed. You guys won't be able to move and get the Jink. You know, he's just going to destroy, like, everything, because it's made of, like, paper. It's going to be tough. But if you get that first turn, you know, you'll be able to move your guys into cover. You should be able to kill a good, you know, portion of his army. You know, the vehicles that will definitely do damage. So it's a tough call. Ravagers versus Void Ravens. And I mean, that pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of other units in the game, obviously. I'm not going to go into detail discussing them, because a lot of them are either just not worth it, or they've just been severely crippled due to the new edition changes. There are a lot of things also that they could have done to really make the Dark Eldar better and cater to the whole like Dark Knight aspect. Like, for instance, you know, the Tau get stealth with disruption pods on their vehicles. Like, I love that, but I think that the Dark Eldar needed stealth on their vehicles way more. It would have been really nice if like Night Shields also gave, or if Flicker Fields gave you like a +1 to, you know, your Jinx save or something like that. That'd be amazing. But you know, what's it called? Reaver jet bikes have it. They've got skilled rider, so that's good. So basically, the way this army works, I haven't tallied up the points. I think it ends up being just about 2,000, maybe a little more. But basically, the way this works is you've got an Aegis line in the back. Put your Ravagers and your Venoms behind it. Make sure you're within 36 inches of, you know, of his important, like, you know, units so that you can shoot him. And then in the first turn, try to find some good cover for your Hellions. Basically, just put them behind some ruins or something, and just, if you're within range with your Splinter Pods, shoot the crap out of them with those because they're good. Then the Reaver jetbikes, just fly them all forward. Just zoom them across the field, and he'll hopefully start to shoot them. And then also move your Dace up and try to find some cover for that. And start picking targets off, you know, with all the Dark Lances and all the poison shots on the Venoms. And sooner or later, you should be able to get, you know, Vect and his retinue. Oh, another thing that's cool about the Hellions, that's the coolest thing, in my opinion, that nobody else can do this in the game, is the Stun Claw, which, when you make your hit and run roll, on a 2+, basically you can, like, nominate an independent character and, like, drag him off with, like, the unit. It says, borne aloft by a mob of cackling maniacs. So it's like you kidnap the independent character and drag him off into like their own little combat with him, and so basically the next turn all you guys can just like rip into pieces. So like that's awesome to do with like some unit that's really important, like a Farseer or like you know, like a Sanguinary Priest, just some unit that gives some really important benefit to like the squad he's in or to nearby squads, stuff like that. You can just take him out, and then, or if he's a close combat monster like Drago, take him out, and then assault that weakened unit with Vect, and they're probably going to die, because Vect and his retinue will literally just shred pretty much anything to pieces. So yeah, man, and in the meantime, of course, your Reaver jetbikes are just flying around, like, cutting stuff. Oops. Yeah, my bad, that was kind of retarded, knocked my water bottle over. It's closed, though, so it's fine. That was dumb. Sorry. I just love this codex so much. So yeah, you're like Reaver jetbikes are just like flying around, chopping stuff up. It's very Dark Eldar, man. Like even with the new rules and the like severe, you know, way in which like the army got crippled, I think they're still really good, and I think they still have some of the best looking models in the game. There are some of them which are cool, which I just can't see any use for, like the Talos. It's awesome, but there's just no way it's gonna get across the board. It will die. The Kronos, which is pretty cool, but again, just not. It doesn't really work, man. By the time he gets there, you guys will either have essentially won your game, or they'll have been shred to pieces. So he's never really gonna have time to start distributing pain tokens, unless of course you can get him out through a webway portal, which isn't really a Dark Eldar way to go, in my opinion. Dark Eldar should be like zooming forward, like all stealthy and crafty, and just, you know, picking stuff up, and then just going in for the kill really quickly, and just leaving him confused. And the Reaver jetbikes will be so good at doing it, because nobody sees this army like ever. So you're gonna have the surprise advantage to begin with. You'll be like, oh, you've never played Dark Eldar, have you? Well, you're in for a surprise, you know. And then your Reavers will just like fly all over the board. He's gonna have to shoot them a bit, you know. He's gonna have to allocate some shooting to them, because they can dish out some damage, man. They don't even have to shoot or close combat. They can just, you know, fly over something and, you know, like do a bunch of wounds. Okay, yeah, they're easy kill points, but he has to 5 out of 6, you know, games kill points don't matter. So he's gonna have to shoot them, you know. He's gonna have to, like, if he doesn't, they'll just keep flying around and like cutting stuff up, you know. And in the meantime, of course, your Venoms and your Ravagers are in the back shooting stuff, and then when your Void Raven or Void Ravens come in from reserves, they're basically the finishing blow, you know. They should take care of his flyers if he has any, and if not, you can just start like strafing ground targets, man. Destroy his quad one if he has one, with like Dark Lances and stuff, and just rip things up, man. Armies which will give this list a headache are obviously Guard. If he has any flak tanks, which he should have at least 3, they're gonna rip the Reavers to pieces. Tau will also give this army a headache. I'm gonna play Tau, of course, because of all the Strength 5, not to mention Smart Missiles. Smart Missiles will just kill the Reavers because they're AP 5, Strength 5, and Ignore Cover. So basically, on a 3, you basically kill it, and it doesn't get a save, unless of course you've got Feel No Pain. But it's unlikely that you get a. There's probably lots of others, but I mean, in general, it's a Dark Eldar army, so it's not going to be very forgiving. But I don't know, man. It's just and it's also expensive. The bad thing about Dark Eldar is that they're like I said, they're not very tough. So their only real defense is spam, basically, because they don't have good armor or anything. So that's the reason I tried to stick as many jet bikes in there as I could, because it's kind of like a spam list to get him to, like, you know, with like lots of meat in it for him to shoot, namely the Hellions and the jet bikes, while your important units, i.e. your Raiders, your Ravager, your Dace, your Venoms, and your Void Raven can, you know, go in and do their job. I tried to find a way to incorporate grotesques in there because they're a nice big, you know, pile of meat essentially that walks across the board for him to shoot at. Toughness 5 with 3 wounds apiece. That's pretty intense for like 35 points of metal, but they're pretty expensive, and they can't be troops, which, you know, that'd be amazing. But they can't be troops, and I had to fit in the Hellions in there somewhere, so that's why they didn't go in. But I mean, obviously, you know, you can experiment with this all you want, or come up with your own list. You know, there's not really enough Dark Eldar players out there to warrant a significant discussion, but I mean, I think they're an awesome army, man. I think they'll stay good for like a while. They're probably not going to get updated anytime soon, which it's kind of sad because they kind of could use a little update. Like the one that Tau got, you know, the one that gave them like Shrouded on the fucking Disruption Pause. That was ridiculous. They need something like that, something that boosts the Jinx save of like Raiders, you know, something like Stealthy and Night Darkness Shrouded. There's all kinds of opportunities for Shrouded and Stealth, which are like king in this edition, you know, or something that makes it so that, you know, so that they can move farther and still disembark and assault, because that really killed them, man. Like, you used to be able to like get into close combat by turn 2 and obviously not get shot at while you're doing so. Now, no, man, witches just aren't going to survive. The only way really you can use them is that like suicide squads with haywire grenades. Run them in, throw some haywire grenades at a vehicle and destroy it. And then, of course, they're going to get annihilated, but at least, hopefully, they'll have made up their points. But, yeah, man, that's my thoughts on the Dark Eldar. I think they're incredibly cool. I think they're very overlooked. I think they require a lot of finesse to play. You know, nobody's going to be calling you, like, cheese or anything like that. You're going to be the cool kid at the store, basically, if you pick them up. Because they're cool, man. You get style points, prestige points for playing them, because they're not a go-to army by any means. The only thing that sucks is that they didn't make a new they didn't make a new model for the Dace of Destruction. That was the coolest model in the old book. It's like fucking like Vex like pirate ship with like all these like slave prisoners. There's all kinds of like BDSM imagery in it, and it's awesome because people love that shit, you know. But they didn't make a new one for this book, and it sucks, man. Like, because everything else in the book looks so good. I'm sure they would have like fucking gone to town on designing a Dace of Destruction for this book. But I mean, you can't get everything. But yeah, man. So yeah, Dark Eldar, freaking awesome army. You know, any comments would really be appreciated. I'd love to get to talk about Dark Eldar to someone. But yeah, man. So cheers for now. See you soon.